Hey, here I am, hanging out tonight with whoever decides to join me. And I am here, I have a slight cold. So if you hear my voice, it's a little bit shaky or I start having a little bit of a cough, that's why. But I'm here still feeling really lovely and really wanting to show up for Queen School. So what I really wanted to do tonight was bring a few pieces of what I thought could be healing for anyone that was on. So I sat with myself this afternoon and asked, what is it that could radically transform any woman's relationship with just a few words that I'm going to say just tonight? What can that gift be for women to carry with them over this Christmas time when they're spending more time with their loved ones than less? And I wrote down about 4 or 5 different things that I really want you to have tonight. Hey Sally, how you going? It's good to see you. So I have a few people online here with me, which is really beautiful. So thank you for being here. What do I want to say before we start? Before we start, I want to say, please comment. Please be interactive with me. If you have questions, please ask them. There's, often so much buried stuff in what our genius is that it's hard to distill and dilute it down into a teachable framework unless there's questions and pain points, and then it kind of starts to be a bit more free-flowing. So whatever we have time for tonight is what we'll do. So please say hi. Hey. Thanks for saying hi, Sally. All right. Where I wanted to start is, what is the queen energy? What is a queen archetype? And I think we're really used to the 3 main archetypes, hey Lizzie, of the feminine. So we're used to maiden, mother and crone. But there is another one in between mother and crone, and that's queen. So for me, the queen energy is all about sovereignty. She's learnt her self-worth and she doesn't hustle for it. She doesn't have to rule with an iron fist and be defensive, because she completely and utterly just embodies who she is. She's kind of transmuted, meaning simply turned from one form to another, all of her lessons into something that's full of deep wisdom. And she kind of surveys her lands. Whatever your lands are, she's able to look over the top of them, and she's able to see all of her boundaries and know exactly how and when to uphold those boundaries. And she'll stand on that fence with you and she'll have a conversation about you. But if you take one step, she will rally an army behind her that is simply there because they're inspired to love, serve. They're devoted to this woman who inspires them to be bigger and greater, right? This woman who is magnetic in her being, meaning that she has the quintessential knowing of desire in her heart mixed with desire from her body and her sexual energy, and that when those two mix together, you can literally transform that energy into something that becomes a space where you relax, open. You invite people, circumstances, places, events, the thing that you're wanting into you, and that thing is attracted to you. That human is evoked and inspired because when they enter that energy with you, they're able to rise to greater heights. So this is why being in touch with your feminine essence is so important, because you are essentially the portal, the gateway that's able to break down any obstacles of humanity and mind when it's mixed with the desire and inspiration from sexuality, sexual chemistry, from the openness of the heart and the body when it's mixed together. And it becomes something like, it's spirituality, but it becomes a channeled magnetic force, right? These people who have worked this out know how to attract things to them because they've worked out that beautiful mix. She's trustable, she's sovereign, whatever she says goes, her word is as it is, right? Like, she's decisive because she just knows, she trusts her body, she's in touch with her lands. She's not lost in a drama, she's not flinging off in reactions, because she has this body and she has this ability to be in touch and to know, just taking my notes. I did write a few things down because I tend to get on a roll and then forget where I'm at. And my voice is a bit quaky on me from my cold. Hang on. I wrote down here, she's worth dying for, and I nearly didn't write it. But what I meant by that is the queen essence or energy is the one that simply her presence, and by standing in a room, she evokes every masculine energy there in service, right? Because of the capacity that the feminine has to be the portal of life energy. So you have a portal in your body, being a feminine being, having a uterus, having a plug into the divine. You are life energy, and your feminine is, and its only purpose is the flow of love, the free flow of love and divine life energy, sexual energy, which is only life energy, through your body. So people in your sphere are able to access that. It's why men are so, right, like think about muses. It's why we've had muses for as long as humankind can possibly remember, because men are taken to bigger heights than they can take themselves when they're in the presence of a woman who has a free flowing body of love. They're inspired, they're lit up, they have drop-ins of inspiration and genius and creative free flow, because her presence evokes that and opens that within them. That's that incredible transmutation energy that's possible when you're really sitting in that queenship of like, yeah, I'm so ready to be served. And the hero, the warrior, the king wants to serve you, wants to provide for you. They're just inspired by your presence to do that. No part of that service is burdensome, because it's all a labor of love when they feel that free flowing freedom of love through their body, because that's your job to take them there. That's your responsibility as the free flowing feminine. The catch of it is you get to feel amazing in the process. It's not like that's your responsibility. It's like, wow, I get to feel so good. And in the process, I take you higher. Like, it's so delicious. It's like incredible. Have I got anything else here that's worth saying? I think I've said most of it. Then I wrote down here what the king energy is. So why the queen evokes the king? Because when the queen raises herself to that level of queenship where she's sovereign and she is the surveyor of her lands, and she is magnetic and abundant and able to have everything provided for her that she needs, and her body even asks for it, and it kind of happens. The king is evoked into that because she chooses to see and call out in her energy that which the king is designed to stand for. So he feels the tug of, I want to provide more, I want to be in more service, I want to show up more, whatever you want. It inspires me to do that for you, because he's hardwired for provision, just like she's hardwired for this magnetic transmutation to take you higher, right? And by him being there, he's inspired, he's around her more, and that energy comes out. And the king himself is strong to the core, right? He's that masculine with that beautiful, strong, centered core, the straight up and down, the alignment, the solidness that's there, that trustability, that stability, the master, not the jack of all trades. He's the master. He's learned how to complete. That's the king's task. He completes for you. He's not the jack of all trades, master of none. He's not quite made it, if that's where he's at. He's very vision focused, isn't he? So the masculine, the king, is all about the goal, the visioning, the mission, the life purpose, and the constant striving, and will always feel like he's not quite obtained it and will keep going. So I want you to know that these are archetypal energies, and we all have these energies, this spectrum of energy within all of us. And you might even hear these things that I'm saying about the king and think, yeah, that's me too. And it is. We all have a masculine energy in us that feels this pull towards vision and mission and purpose and goals, and they're getting shit done and doing it on a time frame and in a timeline, and thinking with our mind and all of that. It's all really beautiful. But if you stay there you will end up exhausted, because the feminine core, if you have the core of a feminine, but you kind of squeeze yourself into these suits of the masculine, you wear it all over the top, and you don't give yourself the space and the time to flow back into the feminine, you do end up exhausted. It's a bit like running a car with no oil. You'll keep going for a while until you get to a certain point and you crash, because there's nothing left and there's more wear and tear that's done in the process. And when you move in that hard, driven, pushing, focused, keep going, not only will you push him out of his polarity because you're taking up all the space of the masculine, he can't even get there, which we'll talk about later, but you will exhaust yourself, your essence, your kind of, your abundance, your juiciness, your life energy, your rejuvenative qualities of your body and your skin and your energy are all here in your feminine, because it is the life energy. And when you don't go there, not only do you not fill yourself up, but you also deprive the masculine around you from those experiences, and he'll go looking for them elsewhere, which again, we'll talk about coming up. What have I got here? Oh, he's the master of space and time. Yeah. And I had a reminder of this, actually. Do you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about, which I hadn't necessarily written down here, is how many times we castrate men. So you might have read the Queen's Code and read a bit about that. And I think the application of that is quite interesting, that often we stop them from providing for us because we're on a mission too, and we're taking up that masculine space, and he has a go at trying to insert himself in there. And then we're like, no, well, you know, this era of me doing all the stuff and I can do it all, and you know, you don't need to do that. Or we have all of these not enough love stories behind us that mean it's not safe for us to just kind of surrender and be served and receive in that way. And so we tend to cut it off before we get to that uncomfortable place and space that maybe we learnt as a child was dangerous for us. So I was doing this just last night, night before, and I was having a giggle at myself, because I was going Christmas shopping and I was taking my eldest two with me, and I'd be like, right, okay, I've got the youngest two here, you pick them up here, you be here, I'll go there, and blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, but what about the gift vouchers I had to give you? And I was like, shit, I forgot about the gift vouchers, which we had to exchange. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to go. And he was like, no, you need them. I'm going to get them to you. And I'm like, you can't. It's not possible. I'm there. Kids are there. Da-da-da-da. And he's like, I want you to have them. And I was about to go, just don't worry about it. And then I had to stop myself and go, whoa, hang on a minute. He's really trying to provide for me here. I could just let him and trust, instead of trusting my own thoughts on space and time, that I could choose to trust his instead. And I said, okay, actually, I would love that. How do you think that's going to happen? And he came up with this plan. He's like, right, okay, I'm going to ring you at this point. You're going to tell me where you are, and I'm going to tell you where I'm going to meet you. And I was like, all right. And in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. Anyway, do my drop-offs. I'm still the master of space and time at this point in time, and I hit the road. And I said to my son, can you ring Dad and tell him that we're here? So he rings him and says, we're here. And my husband goes, okay, I'm going to meet you at the Macca's on this street. And in my head, I'm thinking, it's not going to work, because I'm going to get there before you do. And then I'm going to be waiting, and I'm just losing time. You know, I could see all of these old patterns. Anyway, driving along, I literally get to the corner of the Macca's where I'm meeting him in the car park. And he rings. I'm in the car park, just pulled in. I was like, holy shit. So here he is, the master of space and time down to like the wire, right? And I had to take a moment to really breathe that in and have a moment of gratitude, because what you appreciates, of going, wow, this is him in his masculine, right? Like, I would have missed this, or I would have cut him off from it. And if I keep cutting him off from it, he keeps not being able to experience the fullness of himself, or the experience of the fullness of me, and the flow and the arc of energy and life energy that moves between us when we sit in our polarities. So ultimately, both of us would end up hating each other, neutralizing each other, moving away. Anyway, so I turned the corner into this car park, having just sat at the lights and breathed in this experience, and just met him in a completely different space. I was like, wow, thank you so much, like master of space and time. And he like laughed at me, and then I could see this, the straightness in his body, and I just thought, oh, so delicious, right? Like when we choose to see it and get out of the way of it, it's already there. And yet we spend so much of our time in these stories that it's not even there, or it doesn't exist, or he's not, or, so on and so forth. I'm just going to cough. Hang on, this cold's got me. It's a Christmas cold. It's a bit shit, isn't it? Hang on. Hi, Lucy. Hi, Megan. I'm so glad you're loving this already. Hi, Cara, Samara, Liz. Hey, Liz. Hi, Genevieve. Sorry, this cold. I'm still here. All right. So these are things that I wanted to talk about to you tonight. I'm going to go to lip balm. So I always find when I talk a lot, my lips get dry. Are you ready? Hey, Liz. You are responsible for the flow of love through your body. Even as I say it, I feel it in my heart. Don't wait for the permission to feel it. Don't wait for the right circumstances. Don't wait for your pillow to be fluffed in exactly the right way in order for you to feel the flow of love through your body. Don't wait. Don't hand it over like that. Don't think that you are ignited by a man, or that his presence or how he shows up dictates how you're able to feel or what you're able to access in any moment. Don't think that your sexuality or your life zing is initiated by a man. You're not. You are the portal to life energy. You are the plug into life energy. It's not because of him or because the world is like this that you feel this way. You may have felt a certain way and then in that moment taken a camera shot of the world around you and decided it was this set of circumstances that allowed you to feel that way. But it's not. You are designed to be the energetic portal of the flow of love and life energy in this world. And when you work out how to mix that with the sexual desire and that free-flowing open front of your body, it is like magic. All of your humanity can dissipate. All of the bullshit that holds it back and creates separation can be removed. And all of a sudden, the two of you together are taken to new heights, right? Because you open the portal, you change humanity into something that's far more divine through the experience of love through your body. So you're not dependent on a man or the masculine for the flow of love through your body, but it is your responsibility, meaning that it's your birthright. The flow of love through your body, the ability to be in your body, is how you experience pleasure. You don't experience pleasure through the mind, you experience it through the body. And the feminine responsibility is that I will take you back down here, because the masculine won't get there on their own. They're going to stay up here. They're going to be on mission and vision and purpose and da-da-da-da-da. To come back into the body is the gift that you bring them back into that. And when you do that, it's like exponential heights, right? New level, new opening, new channels, new genius, new love. Like the divinity that's there is pleasure in your body, right? It's your birthright. But it's also your responsibility to know how to get yourself there and then open it up so that you can be like for people around you. That's magnetism. The most magnetic people in this world have simply worked that out. They've worked out how to mix desire from their pelvis and their lower sacral region, where all of the creative possibility exists. And they've worked out how to flow it up through their heart, which is the feminine, right? You think about the Muse. She ignites you through love because you are initiated into being inspired and pulled and driven and opened in new ways that you can't access on your own. And you think it's about her specifically, but it's about what she's able to move and be within her body. I was about to go off on a tangent, but I won't, because I've got a few things I want to say. The other thing I wanted to say here, Nick Tenner, are you watching? That's my husband. Hi to Neil. Hi, Lucy. Nick, if you're watching, he said to me, I was like, before going, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Like I always go, do I have it in me in this moment to say whatever it is that people need to hear? And he looked at me and went, you do, because sometimes you know too much. And I had a giggle. So if you're giggling right now, if you're watching. The thing I wanted to say is don't ice queen him out. You saw your husband pop in too, Megan. That's so freaking awesome. I love that. That's amazing. I've actually done quite a few lives where I've had partners watch together and then talk about it and go afterwards. That's so awesome. I love it. It's incredible, right? Get on the same page. Don't go on your own trip, leave him behind and then go, why don't you meet me here? There's lots of ways to do it together without castrating and leaving them behind, and that for me is part of what Queen School's about, is completely transforming what communication looks like, because you completely understand and respect how you move, how he moves, and how you can call out the king to move with you, rather than it being that you're in your masculine demanding goals and orientations, that it becomes a movement through the... Don't ice queen him out. Let me just sit in that because I was really feeling it when I wrote it. Don't ice queen him out. I watch this with women and it makes my heart break in the moment. It makes my heart break because I can watch these same men in these same moments and just go a tiny step below the behaviour that perhaps their partner is reacting to. And see how it's just a request for love. It's just him without a toolkit, without her recipe, without her seeing how hard he's trying to work it out to meet her, to please her, to be seen, to be validated, to show up. So when you ice queen him out, when you shut off, you close up shop, close your heart, you close the front of your body, you disconnect, you push away the other. You do such a disservice to that human, because when you think about it, when someone's already decided that you're a disappointment, you're not evoked to show up for them. Seeing the king is really different. It's a really different framework. Opening up your body and inviting someone to be self-motivated and inspired by the energy that you elicit is a different way of looking at relationship. And when you ice queen and you shut down, you really only hurt yourself, because you are at your absolute peak when love and energy are flowing through the center of your body. When you are open and it's a movement through, and it's desire and love that come out in such this intoxicating mix that all you want to do is be there with that and in that and for that. It's life-giving, it's rejuvenating. There's nothing more rejuvenating than a woman who is just so in her feminine essence and is the embodiment of life energy. Like, it is literally, if there could be a longevity pill, I actually think it would be that. And when you close it off because you have all of this hurt and a misunderstanding about your past hurts, because hurt love only stacks upon hurt love, but also about what and who men are and what they're trying to do in the moment, when we're able to go a step below the behavior that you're seeing. You miss out on this opportunity to both raise higher and for you to feel vitality and connection and love, which is exactly where you're inspired to be at your greatest, even though you might not know that yet, or might not have tangible experiences of that outside of maybe moments. If you can't connect to his heart and through your body, he's not going to stay around for that. He will look for it in other places. He will look for it in beer and TV and golf and fishing, he will become more focused on career and work and mission. But if you're in the Muse, the energy that's part of that queen knowing how to inspire and evoke the masculine around her, he's coming back for her, right? He's coming back for his feed. He's coming back to plug into life and inspiration and love. There's nothing more powerful than the energy of love and sexual desire. There's no energy more powerful than that, because it is literally the creative life energy. So if you're not transmitting that, he's not necessarily coming back for that, because he's running on empty. He doesn't have his own portal to it. And if you're not the beacon for that, he's going to try and plug in different places and look for it in other places wherever he can get it. Now, he might not do that very well. It might only be a temporary fix, in which case he's going to need to up his fixes, as opposed to you being the center of all of that for yourself as well as for him. So if you ice queen him out, you stop being the beacon of transmutation, of transmitting energy, of moving it, feeling it, opening it, inviting it in, and allowing that to be a complete arc and circuit. If you ice queen him out, that's what you're doing. And it hurts you, ultimately. I wrote down here too, and you might go looking for friends or gatherings. So if both of you are sitting in your opposite poles, so if you are taking up so much space of the masculine by the law of conservation, then he will be pushed into his feminine pole, then you will either repulse each other, or you're both going to get so busy with family inc and running a household that you become neutralized. You kind of stop being such opposite poles. So I'm going to bring my hands in so you can see. Stop being such opposite poles, and you start bringing more and more, is it androgynous? I think it's androgynous is the word, isn't it? Where you're not masculine or feminine, you're both kind of sitting somewhere neutral in the middle. And in which case you actually need opposite poles at either end to create an arc of electricity. Think about a battery. You need positive and negative to create an arc of electricity, a spark that goes to the other and lights the other one on fire and gets you working and creates a circuit, right? If you don't have that, either you repulse. Think about a battery when you flip magnet, when you flip it and it wants to push away from it. Two of the same aren't needed, right? So either you'll repulse each other, and you're trying to do that actually to push each other back into the natural poles, or you'll neutralize it and just be housemates, just kind of really good friends. But there's nothing kind of inspiring or particularly amazing about it. So in which case, he's going to get really focused on career and feeding himself with the feminine outside of you. And you're going to get really busy, probably focusing on a social cause, on work, or being in the masculine pole yourself, and on vision and on mission. And you'll feed through the gathering of female circles, the gathering of friends. Perhaps even that's what he's doing too. Feminine is inspired in that. Thanks, Lucy. Right on, sister. I don't know what that's for, but thanks. All right, what else have I got? 2 more points. Hopefully my voice is going to hang in for it. And I'd love any questions if you've got them. That'd be beautiful. It's not that he doesn't have time to be with you. It's that he's not evoked to show up for you. Ouch. Hey. Sometimes I even write this stuff down and I think, oh God, how am I going to put that into PC language? And the truth is, it's just a really different paradigm of relationship. So I grew up in the feminist era. I went to all-female schools. I had a mum who, on many levels, hated men. So I have that narrative. I understand it. And I have such a well-cultivated masculine. My masculine is so fucking good. Like, I could live... If it weren't for the fact that I get completely depleted and end up with no sexual spark with my husband and actually kind of start hating myself at some point, I could live very happily in my masculine. If it weren't for those things. But maybe you're the same. I am fantastic. Master of space and time. Can get anything done. I can move people like nobody's business, right? You can be here, you can be here. I can delegate. I can get business, goals, mission, no worries. I have this great desire. But if I don't cultivate, if I spend my time there my relationship stops working. If I spend all of my time focused on that and running my house and my husband the way that I run my children, and because I hold space for them, right? I'm what you call a conscious parent, or I spend a lot of time creating space, being the structure that will hold whatever it is that you want to bring me. I do that in my work. I do that with my children. But that's a well-cultivated masculine. That's not a feminine energy. That's a masculine one. And I learnt that very well from my father, who was, I wonder sometimes actually if he was a feminine, core feminine being. He was a 1960s hippie. He was a yogi. I know that he practiced Tantra, right? But through the breath work that I picked up from him as a child, I know the masculine so well that it's my more comfortable pole in many ways. So my life purpose has been, how do I find the feminine? And funnily enough, I've had gurus since I was like 17 who have taught me the arts of the feminine that I didn't know existed and what that was supposed to look like. But my point is, if I stay in my masculine, I emasculate him. I spend all this time going, oh, you're just annoying me and you're just repulsing me, or, oh God, you're so feminine. And I don't know if any of you know my husband, but he's massive. He's like 6'6", this enormous beast on a basketball court, you know. And yet there's times in our relationship where I've been like, ugh. But when I look back on those times, I realize, you know why? Because it was so uncomfortable and unnatural, because I was so in the masculine, held that pole so strongly that I was pushing him and forcing him into his feminine. It was a really uncomfortable place even for him to be. And we were like not meeting anywhere good, because actually both of us in our own unconscious way were trying to push the other into the other pole, but I didn't have a language or a framework for what that looked like. And it was really uncomfortable, because a woman in my frame of mind, and particularly with my parenting history, I have a bit of a mother story. So if you've got a bit of a mother story, then the feminine might be really hard for you to receive. And likewise, if your husband has a father who didn't have a well-cultivated masculine and he has a bit of father wounding, then that's going to be really hard for him to receive criticism and rise to that, as opposed to moving straight into his feminine, because he doesn't have an association with the masculine that allows him to rise, rather than he'll move into his feminine, he'll push away and deflect and defend against you in that way. I always lose my train of thought. So because of because of the history that I have with the wounded feminine and well-cultivated masculine and feminist upbringing, I was like slammed any man into the ground, right? Like I knew how to pull out the quick, remarks and the sarcasm that would just cut you off at the knees, just so you didn't think that we could even like get any bigger. And if you were trying to peacock or show me something, I'd be like smashing you down to the ground. And I wouldn't even allow you to buy me a drink or offer to open my door or serve me in any way, because if I did that, then I was weak, and I couldn't allow people to do things for me, because in my history, what I couldn't do for myself either wasn't going to get done, or I was going to have to repay in a really big debt. And that was so enormously uncomfortable for me that I couldn't even let you. So I would stop you from even getting there, right? I would stop you way beforehand, so I didn't have to be indebted to you. Oh, so much hurt love, right? Like hurt love sits upon hurt love. It's all just stacked. We think it's the thing right now, but it's not. It has its roots way further back. And the thing right now is just sparking up to say this, heal this right now, this bit. So I think about all the ways that I would cut him off and shut him down. And I grew up with a sister too, so I really didn't know men at all. And then cultivating my feminine, and I gave birth to a son. And for the first time I realized, holy shit, these men are like actually really whole and complete souls, which I know sounds crazy. But in my mind, I'd made them something completely different. I'd made them these men that were out to get you or wanted something from you that largely maybe you weren't willing to give, who couldn't really be trusted, all these stories. And I gave birth to this son, and I was blown away by the enormity of his heart and the desire that he had to show up for me. And I really, at that point, so he's now nearly 14, started to break down all of the structures that I had around what men were or weren't. And I delved into so much research and if you haven't read the Queen's Code, please read it, and started to really open up and re-invite and initiate into my body the tantric learnings that I'd kind of let go by the wayside and bring my partner along with it. And what I found was profound. What I found was these men that just trying to work out how to say it in words because I feel it in my body. I thought that if I let men feel the energy in my body, that they would think that I just wanted to have sex with them, and I didn't. So I wouldn't even let you feel the energy. I'd shut it off way before you even felt it. What I'd mixed up was that life energy equals sex, and it doesn't. There's a discernment that happens and a transmutation that you can learn to cultivate and develop with that energy, and choose when you're building it up and storing it, choose when you're opening it and what you're opening it to and inviting in, choose and be the queen who oversees the giving out of that energy and where that inspiration flows, because you become the muse, because you understand and learn that simply your aliveness in your body is a gift of life to these beautiful masculine core creatures that walk around you. That they are just, if your purpose on this world, and look, part for me, I believe that it is that we're here just to love better and to offer whatever we have in service to make this world better, for the divine to experience itself through us in whatever channel that looks like. And you as a feminine core, you are here to light life, right? To open your body in such a way that the masculine gets an opportunity to touch into the divine through that experience with you and feel their own aliveness. And through that experience of aliveness, they get to choose what they do with that energy. And often, if they work that out, it can be channeled into something pretty freaking incredible. Like even today, I was at a birthday party with my eldest daughter, my 12-year-old and my 6-year-old. And there's a whole bunch of prep parents. So if you're a prep mum, it's all a bit awkward at the start when no one really knows each other and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, I can shake this up. So I said to my daughter, do you want to go out and play some badminton? So she said, sure. I had to remind myself, keep opening your body, just move, forget that you're, watched, or that what will people think, or, all these ways that we close ourselves down and we keep our body, in this tight little robotic movement, to remind myself, keep moving it with freedom and life. And then we moved on to kicking the footy, and it was just my daughter and I. And then the minute I felt my aliveness come into my body, I just felt it shoot up, and I was like, yes! Yeah, like this. And I could feel she lit up at the same moment. And I kid you not, instantaneously, there was a horde of about 6 preppy boys that came flooding over us just to play kick to kick with us. And following them was about 6 dads who all of a sudden, even though it was just my daughter and I who, had kids coming in and out, wanted to be there. Wanted to stand next to me and have a chat, wanted to kick the footy to us, wanted to just stand by the sidelines and just enjoy the waves of energy as we were like, woohoo, and then back down. Like, just, it doesn't mean anything other than I can choose in this moment to be the gift of life energy. I could choose in this moment for my aliveness and my ability to channel and transmit that energy through me to feed you, to offer you whatever it is that this exuberance in my body can offer you as you leave here. This could be the exact medicine that you need for this day or this year, that just by you watching the feminine in motion, the flow and free flow of love, you experience your own freedom. And that's what the masculine is here to do, provide you with more freedom and more container to experience more love, right? Like, that's what it's here for. So I just thought, what a gift, right? We forget that this curve of our body, this movement of our hip, this experience of freedom and free-flowing love and openness through our body is literally medicine, literally life-changing, literally life-giving, that every movement that you make could be, if you choose it to be so, medicine. And I find that responsibility enormously heart-opening, and there's an awareness, a responsibility that comes with that sometimes can feel burdensome. But I remind myself that love is infinite when we're able to connect to it, and that's a practice I do, but blah, blah, blah. We do that in other places. So if he's not spending time with you, if he's not showing up for you in the ways that you want, it's because you haven't yet worked out how you are the beacon of light for which he wants to come to, the one that opens him up to greater heights, the one that evokes and invites his warrior and his hero and his king, the one who wants to provide you with more freedom so that you can feel more love. It's simply a skill set. It's simply something you can learn and come back to. If you're not feeding him, it's exhausting him. He's exhausted. He doesn't have anything left. Probably neither do you, if that's where you find yourself. But you could choose to come back into life energy. You could choose to enter that space of relationship differently. You could choose to show up, even in disagreement, differently. You could choose to, even in disagreement, be the inspiration of love through your body, because in this moment love might express itself as anger, but it's not anger thrown at you and closed off like the Ice Queen. It's anger that ripples through your body, which is still life-giving when it's movement of desire and love through your body. You can reveal in relationship, and it evokes him to meet you more fully. You can hand him the keys to your kingdom, not jump beyond them and expect that he works out how to catch up. Like, there's so many ways we castrate men and we stop them from being in their fullness, and in doing so we stop ourselves from experiencing ours. I think I've said the rest of it. I have one more point and then I'm coming to questions. If you don't cultivate it, you lose it. What I mean by that is relationship. If you want the type of relationship that is still full of desire and just sex that just gets better and openness that just like, you just can't imagine anything better, and you're sick of the bullshit culture that says marriage dampens everything, or I'm too tired, there's too many kids, life is too hard. If you're actually really ready to give up that as a belief, then that's what Queen School is. I've been with my husband for 18 years, coming up in February. But holy fuck, like, I cannot imagine things have ever been more everything than what I wanted, and still I know I don't know everything that there is to know and to have. And I think when you work out the polarities and the energies and you start to allow each other to sit more fully in each of those spaces, when you understand that you are the beacon to transmit the energy of life mixed with desire that evokes and literally channels the creative explosion of genius that has never existed before, simply by opening your body to the free flow of love, when you understand that and you choose to have a relationship that is that, then everything else needs to move around relationship. Your core still comes back to, how do we cultivate this? How do I put in time here? Because if you don't, you do lose it. Sorry, my voice is really going. Damn Christmas cold. Hang on. That's what I wrote down here. Know how to move yourself out of your masculine. It's just a toolkit, right? I am a really, if you know me, really core feminine, but with an extremely well cultivated masculine. So being in my masculine is really easy. It is still a practice for me to show up in my feminine. Even tonight, I had to remind myself, like all day I've been like, ugh, you know, I'm feeling sick and I'm feeling unmet by him and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I would really like him just to come in and sweep me off my feet or just like ravish me, and feeling all hurt and all like, oh, it's not, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I had to remind myself, just hang on a second, Julie. Have you remotely felt the free flow of love and desire around him today? Have you opened your body? I was like, fuck no, because I have all this story that's stopping me. So I spent 5 minutes with myself, walked out with a different energy, different belief, different way of seeing him, met him with that, and bang, there it was. So it's not that it doesn't exist. It's that you haven't worked out that the dance of relationship is a dance. It is not, I have this fucking awesome relationship and we're just awesome all of the time and we're just so awesome. We just love each other into awesomeness all of the time. Like, that's fucking bullshit. The more awesomeness you hear, the more of a facade it is. And let me tell you, I can tell you that that is truth. I know too many women too intimately over this 20 years to say it any other way. The more the white house and the picket fence and the white car, the harder it is. So the honesty of relationship is that relationship is the vehicle through which we get to meet more of ourselves. And the more intimate we are, the more we meet more intimate pieces of ourselves. But if we understand that about relationship, if we understand that we're in this knowing that I don't fully see you, because when I'm triggered, I'm only seeing the pieces of me that you're rubbing, and I don't like what's reflected. We like a new lover because they just reflect all our sunny parts. But by virtue of intimacy, working through the divinity of relationship and love and sex and desire, right? We are designed to grow through connection because we deeply crave, seek, want, desire connection. So it's the perfect vehicle through which we can experience enormous growth, spiritually and otherwise, right? So all of the shit that you're hanging on to, you can't escape yourself. So you want to move into a different relationship. Sure, you go through the honeymoon period and then it wears off, right? Because you get intimate. The intimacy of relationship is designed to grow. And I have to get so used to seeing myself, to turning off the projector screen that I have in my mind that I project onto you, like I did this afternoon, and just take a moment to go, wow, what's here for me? Because hurt love sits on hurt love. Pieces of me are being reflected that I don't like, and I feel that discomfort in my body and I want to make it you and push away from you. But ultimately, if I really have this belief, I will sit with it more to do with me. And I know that when I do that, and I choose then to cultivate a set of practices that bring me back into my feminine and back into my essence and back into the free flow of love, and mixed with the magnetism of desire through my body and through my heart, that there's nothing I can't have, that there's nothing I can't evoke you into, that everything that I choose from this space is here to make you better. Don't try and change a man to fluff your pillow more correctly. Don't try and change him into making your world more comfortable for you. Instead, I would love for you to consider, is this making him a better man? Is this me being the beacon of light that raises him up, that elevates him? Am I being the muse here? Because if you're not, that's the self-work of intimacy. And when you understand that set of principles for bringing yourself back into your feminine body, reopening, you can invite instantaneously the energy of desire and connection and spark and passion. Oh, sorry about my voice. It's not awesome on a live, is it? And the last point I had here. Trust the relaxation and magnetic flow of the feminine just as much as you trust the mind, the goals, and the mission of the masculine. We live in a culture where we trust that so implicitly we don't even second guess it. And the truth of the feminine is it's not more hard work. It's where the energy of life and rejuvenation exists. You're so dog tired because you're running in your masculine. You are constantly forcing a body that's designed to pulse with life into something that's supposed to run without it. Like, instead, what would it be like to be in your sovereignty of the queen, to be the surveyor of the lands, to relax, open, to feel that flood of energy come through your body, and know that in that space where you're filled with pleasure, when you are filled with relaxation, openness, when love can flow freely through your body without being stopped and blocked and shut down and ice queened off, when you can be there, imagine being there, imagine the life, the energy that you get. And what if all of the magneticness that you want for anything that you want in your life exists in the place of relaxation rather than in the place of pushing and forcing and trying to think or rationalize or have well-spoken conversations about what you want or need. Like, imagine if it could be a skill set that you learned that was supposed to always be yours instead. What if it's all in your relaxation and has nothing to do with what's up here? But this comes into play when you want to break down what's happening with the Ice Queen mode or with the I have to stay in the masculine mode. This works really well for that. But it doesn't work really well for the flow of magnetic, passionate, inspiring sexuality with a partner long term who has a masculine core. So I'm just coming back through here. Sorry again for my voice, it's a bit awful. Megan, yes to this description of life energy. Oh yeah, so freaking good. All right. I love this distinction between life energy and sex and our ability to consciously channel that in a way that is a gift for the masculine without it meaning anything more than to share a feeling of being lit up and alive. Yeah, 100%. Hi, Melanie. Hi, Olivia. So I know, of course, in here also I used men, women, husband, wife, but of course can be any delineation of relationship simply referring to a person who identifies more strongly with masculine and a person who identifies more strongly with feminine and the interplay of the two. All right, hang on, I'm catching up. Let me go back. Does it become a protective mechanism for each? Live totally in the masculine, my poor hubby. Lucy, can you tell me a bit more about what you mean by that? Do you mean living in the masculine? Does it become a protective mechanism? Is that what you mean? Maybe if you can just let me know, that'd be cool. I think it becomes a place that is more we're cultured into, right? We're more celebrated, we're more validated. It's more comfortable because we're taught that it's more rational. And largely probably because we have a wounded feminine past of some sort, we're really uncomfortable with irrational emotions, or that we don't trust that everything we want is in our relaxation because we've been taught so much it's about hard work. If it's not hard work, it's not, you're not doing it well enough. You know, it's just a completely different paradigm. So I think it's largely that we're more comfortable in our masculine, but probably because we're denying or shutting down or switching off from our feminine for a variety of wounded reasons, usually. So part of what I really want Queen School to be, we spent a whole week on the Queen. After we spent a whole week on the Kings, I really want the King to be the first week because men are just enormously fascinating. And the more I get to know them and watch them and breathe them in, the more I'm like, fuck, I love you so much. I can't believe I missed you for whole life, like just not really getting you, like so freaking yum without even, yeah, and totally like you were saying before, without even, you know, it's not about the flow of life energy in sex. It's not about having sex. Like that's That's not discernment. That's not someone who's smart. It's like the playboys who are 20 and 30, isn't it? Sowing wild seeds. It's like all of that creative energy and pulse is just like scattered to the wind, versus I have this really well mastered understanding of how to move energy in my body and how to breathe it in and move it out, how to have everyone reach greater heights in this space than what you can on your own, because that's the arc that's designed to happen between masculine and feminine poles. Okay, I'm reading back down again. Hello, lovely Amanda. Yes, Lucy says yes. So did I answer your question, Lucy, or do you want me to answer it a bit differently? I love my men in my life, I'm assuming, want to nurture them instead of battling them. Yeah, oh God, 100%. I totally get it. I really do. And it's just such a devotional, divine place to be, where you can just, instead of like, you're just like, oh, God, I love you. Like, and when someone feels that from you, what do you think happens in them? Right? So it's not, I missed a heap, but I'm so excited to catch the replay. Cool. Thanks, lovely. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love for you to catch the replay too. I lost my train of thought just then. All good. Wonderful. Good. Hey, Amelia. Same for you. No worries. I'm happy for you to catch the replay. But that's what I really want Queen School to be, is that I want to spend a week on the King where we completely reframe men. So all of the stories that you have about them, all of the ways you think you understand them, that we totally break that down, and I teach you how to actually see the King, the one that exists at the core of him, that you can train your body to kind of feel and plug into. And by feeling and plugging into it, you can almost then call it out, and you can change your energy to move that openness, and he'll naturally want to show up for that. It's a real energetic art and exchange. And I don't think I've met a man yet that I couldn't breathe some life energy into. And I think that's the same for any feminine being. I mean, fuck. How many of you have walked around in your masculine and seen like a divine woman that for some reason just like lights you on fire, and you just are like, I love the expression of who she is through her adornment, or I love the way that she moves or dances, or I'm lit up by her words, or, like, this is the feminine for all of us, right? The feminine is the muse. It is the space in which we connect to our greatest creative potential, and we can choose where we take that energy, right? Learning the art of the energy and the movement of the polarity is one part of it, and we can choose to apply that to the framework of relationship, or we can choose to apply that to the framework of what am I going to do with that once I open that channel? Where do I get to choose where this energy goes? Is it going to go into building an incredible framework or network of friends and social connections? Is it going to go into new inspired ways that I show up in my work and in my business in the world? Is it going to transform my wealth and what I'm able to magnetize and open? Like, the queen energy is simply the energy of magnetism, of learning the feminine arts that call it out of you by opening it up and invite in the masculine that is like you're a magnet, right? Like, it's designed to be the arc. It's designed to be pulled towards you. But if you're not in that space where your desires are being met, you simply haven't worked that energy out. But as a core feminine being, you have it in you. You are literally born with this as the greatest capacity, desire, purpose for you. And it's not as frivolous as, she just loves romance or something like that. This is like everything you want, right? The divine flowing through you. This is the experience of love mixed with creative energy, is like intoxicating to life. And when you learn that and you get to practice, right? Because it's a practice. We don't just get it or not get it. Like, even in my story I was telling you today, I still practice it. You don't just sit here in this queen energy all of the time, because sometimes you're going to want to be in the newness of the maiden archetypal energy, and sometimes you're going to want to be in your masculine because you've got shit to do and a house to run and kids to look after. But what you want to do is learn this and understand it so that you can choose to apply it as a tool to bring it back in when you want it. So I know I can get shit done and I can do all of that so well during these hours, but I know I want to show up for my husband or with my husband in a certain way. So I know at this time, I'm going to flip the switch by turning on a different set of tools. And I do this now with my son. So my son is now 14 and it's just like magic. I fucking love. I mean, I love watching all of my kids grow up, but I'm adoring this experience of the masculine. You know, there's so many of my friends that I see with boys the same age that do all sorts of crazy shit. And yet I just wonder how much of that is a seeking of the feminine, that they're seeking this thrill, this life energy, the consumption of it in all these different ways. But what if instead you could choose to be the beacon of that, and you could choose to turn it on, and your son in that moment was filled up? Now, ultimately, there's going to be some wavering of that as he works out that there's feminine energy outside of you, and that's beautiful. But I just think there's something divine about when I'm able to turn that on and tune it into him, because he's obviously still learning his king, because he's very much still in the prince archetype. When I'm able to just maneuver that energy a little bit and call it out in him, he kind of like, you can start to see he wants to rise to that. He wants to meet it. He wants to bring up that core and provide for me without me having to like ask him and nag him. If you're nagging, you just haven't worked it out. You haven't worked out that mix of desire and heart and sent it out. Because if that is a clear signal, they can't help but be evoked into the clarity of that. So if you're not getting a clear signal back, it's because you haven't sent a clear one out. And you can apply it to anywhere. Family, relationship, work. It's just a skill set. But it's one that I find most empowering and inspiring in my world. And I get it because I have a really hardcore masculine. And so for me, it is a practice to bring in my feminine. But it's just delicious and divine. I couldn't think of a better place to live. I've never been so excited about a course in my life. Yay! Me too. I'm so excited. And I've never run a course this way either before. So Queen's School starts on Boxing Day, and every single day I'm going to be dropping in with a live. And every day there's going to be a different topic. So we're going to spend 1 week on the king, so getting to know men completely differently. So you can again apply this to all of the men in your life, fathers, brothers, sons, co-workers, right? Whoever you want to evoke, you have the power to. You've just got to learn them differently to the way that you've learned them. And then we're going to spend a week in integration. So in integration, I want your questions, I want your stuck spots, I want where you've got some wounding so that we can do some work around that. And then we're going to do a week on the queen. So I want you to learn this feminine art. I want you to relearn your body as a life source rather than, this body that you've learned to hate or not use. You know, I want you to work out how to open it and turn it on and soften it, not push it. You know, I don't want you rubber banding, pushing yourself so far and then flicking 5 steps back in trauma. And if there is trauma, how we work with that. So we're going to spend a week on the queen. We're also going to spend a lot of time there talking about emasculation, the ways that we stop men from sitting in their masculine, from providing, from showing up, from meeting us in all of those we say we want, but we're always complicit in how we set that up for them to not show up for us. So we're going to spend a lot of time probably on that. And then a week of integration with the queen. So bring me your mother wounding, bring me your past feminine hurts, and all of the places again that you get stuck. Then we're going to spend a week on union. And I love union because relationship just gets me all kind of juiced up. And I think having been 18 years with the same man, I've learned a lot. And a number of years before that, being not very discerning with my sexual energy, and throw in a bit of trauma, and it's probably the regular feminine experience, I reckon. So we're going to spend a week on the union, what it looks like when the two polarities interplay, how you can move each other from one to the other polarity, and how you can move back. So I can't even think what else is in that week of union, but there's lots of stuff. So that was the one I had the most trouble actually narrowing down into 7 days worth of teachings. So a week on relationship. And then what we're going to do is there'll be a week on the union for integration for that. So that's the first 6 weeks. Then we've got 4 weeks where we're staying together in a Facebook group. And I really want it to be 4 weeks of practice and then bringing me the places where the practice gets stuck so that I can help you uncurl that, unfurl that, and smooth that practice. Because what you want to have is a practice that you understand mentally and that you've embodied or had some practice at. But then the art of it, really, of any practice, yogic or otherwise, is to then have a practice you soften around. So it integrates, it folds into your being rather than it being something you do. It's just part of who you are. But that requires practice, rewiring, and then the integration where you fold around it. So that's what I want those 4 weeks to be, the folding around. Hope that makes sense. So by the end of 10 weeks together, and that course is $888 full price. I don't think it's much more than that on the payment plan. The payment plan you can start for, oh God, should have looked this up, $89 I think, and it's a weekly payment. So by the 10 weeks post Boxing Day, I want you to be in a completely different state of being, like completely different. I want you to completely see your world differently, see yourself differently, show up differently, really start to master and understand the embodiment of the feminine and her flow of energy. I completely want you to be having a different relationship, completely different. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but in 10 weeks, when you start to really train your body and your mind to touch in, to feel and to see your masculine core partner differently, it's totally possible. Like with my husband tonight, when I've been pissy at him all day, I could choose in that one moment, instigate practices, bang, there he is, the king. It's not like he wasn't there all day. I just didn't see it and wasn't evoking it. I wasn't putting out a clear signal. So it's totally possible to transform your relationship in 10 weeks. I don't not believe that. So if you're a willing woman, a core feminine being who's really ready to meet those places in you that feel sticky and unknown, then that's what I would love to do with you. I would love to unstick and maybe get stickier. I don't know which I prefer. And do that. I just think relationship is the space in which we can know ourselves more intimately and take ourselves to greater heights and make life so worth living and create a blueprint for our children that, like, I want them to have the relationship I have. Like, how many people can say that? You can't just wish your children have a different, better experience than you, because they can't be what they can't see. So work on your relationship, and you already do the work for them because they embody it, they become it. It wires their DNA, So you can heal, transform, create genius through the union of the masculine and the feminine. This is just one place you can do that if you want to do that with me. So it's Queen School. It does start on Boxing Day. And if you've got any questions, please email me, please DM me, however you want to do it, and I will get back to you. Carly, yes. I know that's what I do too in my body, yes. Although, yeah, anyway, I could get carried away with that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really totally appreciate everyone. Look at yours, so cool. Thank you so much. It's really beautiful to be able to share a space like this. I think it's amazing. What a cool space social media is. Yeah, Carly, it's so important to me for my daughter and son. Yeah, me too. Often at times when it feels hard for me personally and I'm feeling burdened, I pull myself forward with that thought of, would I want this for my child? And if the answer's no, then I can often bring that little bit more out of me where I want to show up differently. So come do that. If you're really ready to open up into your queen archetype and really see the king and the men around you and just to have the most exuberant rejuvenation experience really, because it's totally possible. You don't have to be this tired, bogged down, bedraggled mother. It's completely possible to be something totally different. So come and do that with me. I would love to do it with you. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Nick, if you're still there, coming to see you. See ya.